Welcome back to the Penalty Kick Podcast. This is Mike Geo, and we got a lot to go over today. Getting this video out a little bit late. I was at the She Believes Cup yesterday at Snapdragon. Saw two amazing games, Colombia versus Australia. Colombia 2-1. And then it was the USA versus Japan. USA did not bring their full squad for the women's national team. Japan won the She Believes Cup, and they also won the game 2-1. So it was just awesome day of soccer. Couldn't have just a better day. I was out there all day from 4:30 all the way till the end, around 9:30, 10. And it was just phenomenal to see those women ball out. But we are here today to talk about San Diego FC, their next game, which is on March 1st, the home opener at Snapdragon. I hope to see y'all there because Mike Geo going to be there, and he going to be there enjoying all the festivities. He going to get there early. He going to be there for the member happy hour. Best believe that. But we have a lot to get into because we won the last game against LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy are a great team. So a great win away from home for the first ever game. But what are we going to look like versus St. Louis? What is St. Louis going to look like versus us? We need to break it all down because, hey, this could be a trap game. St. Louis has not been a great MLS team, but you can't underestimate any opponent. And after such a big emotional win in your first game ever, do you come out with the same emotion? Do you come out with the same intensity? Are you hitting the ground running like you did when we played last week? We need to get into all that and more because we're going to analyze the game. We're going to bring you statistics. We're going to talk about the opportunities to win and what can allow us to win as a team for San Diego FC, but also some things we might need to worry about and make sure we shore up before we play St. Louis City SC. What we know is they played a lot better last year than sometimes in the year prior. They were an expansion team, and I think they're going on their third season, but they had a rough start. They did not hit the ground running. They had a rough start to last year, but they also ended last year kind of on a high note. I don't want to call it a high note because it's not anything crazy, but they won 4 games, tied 1, and then lost 3 in their last 8 games, which is actually a big, big improvement for what they were doing early in the season and what they were doing from last year. They upgraded the roster mid-year last year, and so they brought in some attacking players, and they brought in Hartl and Tukert. And Hartl and Tukert really took that team and gave them some attacking prowess. It gave them attacking options that allowed them to end the year well, allowed them to end the year on a high note. So that's something we're going to have to take a look at. We can't overlook this team. They upgraded their roster. They played better at the end of last season. They're coming into this season with a little bit more energy, a little bit more fervor, even though I wouldn't really say that they're going to be one of those teams looking for the playoffs. At the end, they ended up finishing 12th position in the West out of 14th. So they were third to last in the division last year. I do think they're going to improve. I actually think they're probably going to be around a mid-table team, maybe anywhere from like 7th to 10th, maybe in the West. So we're going to have to watch out. Again, do we come out with that emotion? Do we come out with the intensity, or do we overlook a team that we think we should beat? And if y'all watch sports, this happens all the time, even with championship teams, where they'll look and be like, oh, that team was not good last year. We totally should beat this team. And then you don't practice with that intensity, which then you don't bring the intensity into the game. Another big thing, they brought in some defense this year. So their offseason signings, they brought a center back from Schalke, which is a really top-tier team in Germany. And midfield, they brought in a player from Slavia Prague in Austria, another big team in Austria, top division team in Austria, Wallem. And he's a youngster with a lot of upside. So we'll see if he gets some PT, but they brought in a midfielder and a center back. You can see they're trying to shore up the back end and the midfield because they brought in some players to shore up the attack last year. So those are 2 pretty big international players from pretty big international teams. So they improved not only last year, but it looks like they're going to be improving this year. But their strength, and the biggest strength they have, is their goalkeeper, Berkey. Berkey was an absolute monster, an absolute beast between the posts last year for St. Louis City. What is he going to look like this year, especially if the defense steps up? Does he have an easier time back there? And so I think Berkey is something to watch and really something to monitor on St. Louis City, how not only obviously he plays, but the individuals in front of him play. Because what I've realized, and obviously the first two preseason games were not the greatest for San Diego FC, but we can definitely get the ball in dangerous spaces and places, and we get our shots on goal. And the shots that we do take, they're usually on goal, which is awesome because that allows us to hopefully get one of those, two of those, maybe even three of those in the back of the net. And over the last two games, game against LA Galaxy, our final preseason game against the New York Red Bull, we've put 7 balls in the back of the net. So that is phenomenal. Can we do it with this team? This team, St. Louis City, also tied their last game against the Colorado Rapids. I'm not going to say the Colorado Rapids are a great team, and then people are like, hey, Mike, it's a tie. Like, what does a tie mean? I actually rewatched their entire game. I also looked into their statistics versus the Colorado Rapids, and St. Louis City dominated that game. They should have won that game, and potentially not by a little, but they should have kind of won probably by a lot. And it doesn't do it justice. The 0-0 scoreline that St. Louis and Colorado had does not do St. Louis justice, and it doesn't give St. Louis their correct props, because you got to give props when props are due, and they dominated that game. Just look at these statistics. Versus the Colorado Rapids, St. Louis had 18 shots compared to 2 shots for the Rapids. Not only that, St. Louis had 5 shots on goal compared to Colorado Rapids, who had 0 shots on goal. They also beat Colorado in possession. They had 54% of possession. And when I was watching the game, they looked just far more dangerous. They looked like they were attacking. Looked like they were being aggressive. They looked like they were controlling the game that entire time I watched. There was a couple moments for the Rapids where they could have hit them on a counter, hit them on a fast break, which might play into our hands a little bit. But St. Louis, you have to give them their props. They dominated that game. Also, they had an expected goal, an XG of 2.01 compared to the Rapids 0.23. So what does that tell me? Not only did they attack better, not only did they have more of the ball, not only did they have more opportunities to score goals, the big thing for me, they only allowed 2 shots and 0 shots on goal. That's impressive. St. Louis should have had the win because they hit the post. They had a lot of good opportunities, which Zach Steffen, if individuals know Zach Steffen, was a starter for the U.S. men's national team in goal. And he also was a backup at Manchester City, one of the biggest clubs, soccer teams in the world. This dude is a baller, bona fide baller. He had some injuries. Obviously, he's gone through a little bit of a rough patch in his career, but he played phenomenally for the Colorado Rapids, and that's one of the big reasons why it was a 0-0 scoreline. But other than that, again, from reading all those statistics, from watching the game, they looked like a good team. And they're obviously improving, again, from last year, but I also think this year. One thing that I was watching during the game, they were actually pushing a lot of their players forward. And so St. Louis, they play a 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2, right? So let's just focus on the 3, which is the defense in 3. Usually this is not a common formation to use at the highest level, even though you do see it. Ruben Amorim at Manchester United plays this formation. Not going so well for him right now, but you usually don't see this. Most want 4 in the back because it's just more of a balanced and solid defensive formation. With 3 in the back, that can obviously leave a lot of gaps. If you push too many of your midfielders forward, then you're just going to be super exposed at the back. So a 3-5-2 or 3-4-2-1 is usually a formation you can attack. Usually it's a formation you can really go at and get through the lines and do balls kind of over the top, especially if the defense presses forward as we would want them to with Mike Geo-'s style. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with the 3 in the back. But again, they only allowed 2 shots and 0 shots on goal. So I think in the wing midfielders, let's go with 3-5-2. I think they're running 3 traditional midfielders in the middle 3 for the midfield, and then the 2 on the wing to complete the 5 in the midfield. I actually think they're using defensive players so that when they're on defense, they can actually drop to a 5 in the back. So those wingers go all the way down to the defensive line. They're running a 5 in the back, potentially a 3 in front of that, and then a 2, or having one of those drop. So I think they are choosing defense, but also, again, what I noticed when I was watching the game, they were flooding a whole lot of players forward, which if you hit them on the counter, and that's really, what the Rapids did kind of well, not so well, but kind of well, and their best opportunities kind of came off a counter, ball over the top. They were exposed. The St. Louis City were absolutely exposed, but obviously Colorado couldn't capitalize. Colorado really didn't look good in the game. So, we can also chalk that up maybe. Colorado maybe wasn't the best team that, they were playing. St. Louis was at home, and St. Louis at home last year was a whole lot better team than away. They looked horrible in their away record. I think they were 1-8-8 in their away record. So they just didn't look good. But what does this mean for us, for San Diego FC? How do we attack this? What are we going to do? What would allow us to hopefully win the game? And what are some things we would want to prepare against so we hopefully don't lose the game or give up goals? I think with the amount of players they were, flooding forward, I think our center backs need to play really, really big because they were putting a lot of people in the box. So our center backs are going to need to clear the ball, going to need to be composed, but also our wing backs. I actually don't think this is going to be 100% like a midfield game. I said the LA Galaxy, the big weakness they had was in their midfield, and we should absolutely attack that. I think the weakness here is their back line, the number of people they move forward. So I'm looking more for like a counter-attacking game. I'm looking more for a ball over the top, especially if we invite that pressure like Mikey Vadas likes. So I don't think it's going to be as much of a midfield game as the LA Galaxy was. Like I said, if you wanted to win that game, you dominated the midfield. We absolutely did that. Killed them in the midfield. I think the midfield is going to need to help a little bit more with defense. And I think, Godoy and Sverdikov are phenomenal at that. So I don't have a big worry. And the way our defense has played the past couple games, it's looked a lot better. My big worry is Löffelsend, because he got beat a couple times on the wing against the LA Galaxy. And, you're going to get beat. You're never going to be perfect at anything. But he got beat multiple times, and he got made to look kind of bad a couple of those times. And luckily, Godoy really stepped in and stepped up to cut off the angles after Löffelsend got beat and played great defense. But also, last game, Negri, our other wingback, was subbed off. And I think it was because either a soft tissue injury or out of precaution from an injury or a tweak that they had. So does that mean Negri plays? Negri is our bona fide starter. He is absolutely a starter on this team. So does that mean Willie will need to step up and play? And that's who I think will play, because I just don't see Negri turning around that fast. And honestly, you're in the beginning of the season. Don't further injure a player. This is actually a longer season than people think. Save him, make sure he comes back healthy, make sure he recovers, then bring him back when he's at 100%. Willie is young, but he's going to need to step up. He stepped up against LA Galaxy. There wasn't too much opportunity, but if you remember the end of the game against the LA Galaxy put a lot of pressure on us on defense. That was like really the only time they looked like a decent team that game. We totally dominated that. But what's going to happen this time when Willie plays a full game instead of only 20, 30 minutes? What happens when St. Louis floods players forward and maybe attacks our wings and Löffelsend gets caught? What are we going to do? And that's why I think the center backs are going to need to play big. I really do think Sverdikov and Godoy are going to be even more important in this game than potentially last game. I really wanted Luca De La Torre to run Marco Reus off the pitch, and he did. Marco Reus got subbed out. So that, I think, is going to be big for us of how to hold it down, how to hopefully mitigate any attacking that St. Louis City does, because I think they are going to try to win this game. They have a new coach that's instilling this 3-5-2 and 3-5-2, 3-4-2-1. Those are attacking formations. So you don't set up like that if you're usually going to just drop back and play defense, which that's kind of my big worry on San Diego FC and their offense. We've really only scored on counterattacks, moving the ball quickly when we invite pressure towards our defense and our defense has the ball, and then balls over the top because there's a lot of space in back. I have not seen us break down a defense when a defense is in their shell, when a defense is organized and is able to get back into position. The only time we've scored from really like a half-field offense was in our first preseason game, and it came off of a set piece. So I don't really include that in open play half-field sets. So how do we break those teams down? Do I think that it's going to be a problem this game? I don't. Again, I think they're going to be attacking St. Louis SC, and they're actually, I think, going to be playing into our hands, because what do we love to do? We love to counter. We love to do balls over the top. We love to invite pressure and then quickly pass the ball through the lines. So I think if we move quickly, we'll have a lot of opportunities on their goal. And I think we're going to test Berkey, and we need to test Berkey. We need to put pressure on Berkey. He's great. He's an absolute monster in the MLS. But if you don't put pressure on him to make saves, it's going to be a very easy day. And it was a very easy day for him because he had 0 shots on goal last game. We can't allow that to happen. I don't think we're going to allow that to happen. But I really, really hope we don't fall into a trap game. I really, really, really hope we come out with intensity. And I think we will, because it's our first home game at Snapdragon. So it's on us. It's on me. It's on you. It's on everyone from San Diego. It's on everyone at the game to cheer, to pour their energy and pour their hearts into this team, into supporting this team and everything this team's got going on, because I just can't wait to see what the environment looks like. And I really do think Chucky and Dreer can capitalize because of the space in the back, because the over-the-top balls. I mean, really just look at the second goal at LA Galaxy when it was on the counterattack from, Dreer on the right to Thomas Angel on the left, and then Angel drives, forward a little bit, and then he sends it right to Dreer, and it's this counterattack, and it looked phenomenal. That's a recipe for winning this game. Also, this is Mikey Vadas' strategy, inviting the pressure, balls over the top, quick counters, quick passing, be attacking, even though we might be allowing individuals and teams to press us, to bring pressure into our end of the field. Again, that's what Mikey Vadas wants. So I actually think this team plays into our hands. Will they play another style? Will they maybe drop 5 in the back and not be as aggressive going forward? That might be something the coach would want to look out for St. Louis SC, but I don't think many coaches change their styles all too often, which I think is good in certain senses, but it could also be bad in certain senses. Again, Ruben Amorim and the individuals that he has on the team is not built for a 3-5-2, and yet he still tries to do a 3-5-2, and yet they're still losing a lot of games. So I do think sometimes you do need to change tactics, strategies, and sometimes even formations. Ancelotti does it at Real Madrid. Pep Guardiola does it at Manchester City. And usually you're not going to match up well against every team. I think we match up well against this team. Will this team change their tactics? Don't know if that's the case. I hope they don't, because I could see quite a bit of goals going in for us if they allow us to go over the top, if they allow space in the back, because that's where we eat. That is what we do. We get in behind, we score those counter goals. We got great wingers, we got great upfront players, and we have a great attacking midfielder, Luca De La Torre. I'm going to continue to sing his praises. I've been shouting him out the moment he got on this team, and I will continue shouting him out because he is good. So, what does this mean for game predictions? I think we're going to hit him on the counter. I think we are going to have balls over the top. And I think we're going to score some goals. I think we're going to win this game. I do think both teams are actually going to score. So I do think St. Louis City is going to get 1 goal. But I believe we can actually get at least 2. So I'm calling a 2-1 scoreline, SDFC for the win. But I can still see us getting like 3-1. I really can see us getting 3 goals. I think we match up well against them in their style, and we're going to capitalize on that. So I cannot wait to be there on March 1st. Please, if y'all are there, shout me out, hit me up, follow me on Instagram, subscribe, share this out. You know, Mike Geo give you the on-point analysis. Mike Geo do the research on all of the teams, San Diego FC and everyone they're playing. I watch all the videos, I recap all the games, and I'll be bringing y'all a recap because it's going to be a Saturday night game on March 1st. I'll bring y'all a recap of the game on Sunday, that next day on March 2nd. So watch out for that recap. Remember to subscribe so y'all get all the notifications. Support the channel, support soccer, support San Diego, and we'll catch y'all in the next episode.